everybody, and welcome to video 3 in our three-part mini-series about the Sri Yantra. So this video is the concluding video in this short mini-series, and hopefully you've got a chance to watch video 1, where we basically just talk about what is a yantra, and then in video 2, we talk about the specifics of the Sri Yantra, some of the qualities that are inherent to that very, very specific shape, which is like the mother of all yantras, or at least that's how we were talking about it in video 2. If you haven't had a chance to watch those videos, please go back and check them out. Because in this video, we want to just share with you kind of like the big umbrella of going deeper with the Sri Yantra, like really going deeper. What we mean by that is, how do you actually use this yantra as a kind of a meditative vehicle to evoke deep inner experiences? Isn't that right, Scott?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
Mm.
Kind of give you we want to kind of guide you in through this process that we've experienced. We want to share that life experience with you, and introduce you to this concept of using these yantras and mandalas and sacred geometries in general for having an inner experience. And it's something that you have to do yourself. It's not an intellectual exercise so much as a experience that we're urging you to take.
I love what you're saying, Scott, about, in fact, you know what? I think the ethos of this whole video is exactly your point there about, it's about the participants experiencing this for themselves, which is sort of really, probably the core theme of everything we're offering, Scott, isn't it? That we can, we're going to impart some juicy information and some specific details about the yantra, and we're going to lean on a beautiful book written by a lady called Madhu Khanna, and that book is called Yantra, where she in my opinion, it's probably the most articulate and succinct and sublime exposition of the qualities of the Sri Yantra. So we're very definitely going to bring some, articulations on the yantra, some of its traditions, its history, but it's kind of left brain, all of that, it's kind of like, I love that stuff too. It gives you a context for it, but really what we're genuinely trying to offer is that it's the felt experience of what happens when you meditate with these yantras. That's essentially if there is a kind of a big goal to our courses, any of our courses, we did the Sri Yantra, we did the squared circle course as our first course. And we really quite explicitly attended to this interplay between our left brain and our right brain. The squared circle is a really cool archetype for that, And this course is going to be very, very similar. We're going to have some left brain. We're going to share with you some teachings. We're going to share with you some specific details about the Sri Yantra. We're also going to draw it, of course, which is meditative in itself. But then we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper, where we're going to invite you to sort of open to an experience with the Sri Yantra for yourself,
Jeff, I think that,
yeah.
Aside from the talk of left and right hemispheres of the brain, I think when you experience the, sacred geometry for yourself, it actually is an opportunity to involve your heart that you don't have when you're just watching an informational course that would speak to your brain. So this is actually bringing in other chakras in your energy system, your heart, into this mix. And I think that one reason why it's so much deeper when you draw it all by hand, when you involve your body, when you agree to participate in this experience, to kind of co-create this field as you do it. It's more than just we're not just transferring knowledge to you. This is not a software tutorial. I've done so many of those in my career, but this is not that. This is something that there will be some information that you'll have to get, but it's also an invitation to use this yantra as a vehicle to get you there. And I think, Jeff, we've talked about this before, that at the end of the day, no matter which archetype that we're using, it's all about taking you from the mundane into the experience of the sacred, of this beautiful kind of flow state that you can get into. And at the end of the day, it's not really about the geometry. It's sort of incidental which archetype we're using, because they all have this power and they're particular in different ways. The squaring the circle is different than the Sri Yantra, but hopefully they both get you to a very deep place within your side, inside yourself. Is that fair, Jeff?
Oh, I'm loving what you're saying, Scott. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly it, because this is really what we're trying to emphasize in this video. It's like, every time I work with sacred geometry, I start with this sort of quickening of my thinking almost. I go, oh my God, this is so amazing. These 9 interlocking triangles, these 43 triangles, the path of evolution, the path of involution, ticka, 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 ticka. It's all on this thinking frequency. And I, for some reason, I actually feel that's important, because it's almost like the invitation in to the mystery, but somewhere along the process of meditating with the shape, of drawing the shape, and I create sand mandalas out of it. On our course, we're going to actually be coloring and drawing the mandala of the Sri Yantra. I'm always taken to a place that exactly what you say, Scott. It's like it becomes like a felt experience, where I begin to feel different, and the different archetypes, even though we are referring to them simply as canoes, and they're just getting you to a deeper place inside yourself. I sort of phrase that as like, it sort of helps you journey inward towards the source of who you are, the deepest place. That's the language I use for it, but I mean, you could use many, many different words to explain the same thing, but there's there's an opportunity for you to, expand your consciousness so that you sort of let go of the busyness of the external world, all of our to-dos, all of our busy worlds. Essentially anything we meet when we open our eyes in the morning in the external world, we're also hooked on that sort of level of being, that it's so rewarding to give yourself a little bit of time, space, and permission to journey inward, to just say, yeah, I'm going to give myself some time, space to go in here and see what's happening in my inner world. I joke a little bit at times thinking that like, this is probably one of the most infrequently visited places in the universe right now, because we're living in the attention economy, and there's so many things outside ourselves that are trying to hook our attention. And if we don't consciously choose to apply our awareness inwardly, I guarantee you there's plenty of forces out there, trying to choose for you what to do with your awareness, So in a way, it's kind of a radical act, Scott, isn't it? To say, you know what, I'm going to take a break from this onslaught of the external, and I'm going to just step inward, and see what's happening in my interiority. Isn't that a cool thing to do?
It is. And I was reading Madhukana's book last night and reminding myself of what a yantra really is. It's a tool. Like she was saying that there's a yantra, which is a astronomical yantra, which is like a kind of medieval astronomical instrument that they call the yantra, because the word actually refers more to a technology. So what I took from that was that we're actually trying to get this ancient technology that goes all the way back to the Vedic culture. It was echoed millennia later in the tantric culture, and it's been updated, much more recently. And what it is these ancient people understood that this kind of technology of going inward, the path of involution, whereas in the West in the last couple hundred years, we developed this outer technology, the smartphones and all the tech that we have. It's all out there. It's all outside of our body, outside of our inner world, And so what we're doing here is a very radical thing of kind of going back into the past and dusting off this ancient tech, in realizing that it is a kind of tool.
Super tool.
Yeah, for inner exploration. And I think that if you could understand it in that context, it's not meant to be a woo-woo thing at all. It's just we're using a tech, and when you have a tech, you know, it can be used in a positive way. It can also be used in a negative way, so we have to be careful. Like I'm thinking of the outer tech that we have in the Western world today and the whole world today. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm saying here.
I mean, so no, I love what you're saying, Scott. It's absolutely correct. I'm trying to share with our viewers, with our listeners, what they might experience. Like, what are we speaking about exactly? So if you come on our course, right, when we're talking about, we're going to go deep into Sri Yantra, what we mean by that is like, I mean, on one level, it's quite straightforward. It's almost like child's play. So in both courses, actually, both the 1 day and the 8-part course, we're going to share with you this kind of, like, I call it the mandala nature process, right? But there's a number of elements to this, and it's really like a journey deep into the yantra. In this particular course, it's the Sri Yantra. And so what we do, we share some lectures with you, we give some teachings on the I was going to say formation, on the yantra, and then we then we draw it, meticulously, spending time under Scott's kind of like excellent tutorship. You'll get to draw this shape, which is a kind of another layer of deepening it, and then as part of kind of both courses, on the 1 day we'll have to leave you do this after the course because it takes 3 hours, but on the 8-part module course, this will be part of it, where we'll do it in our own time, and then we'll regroup and share the experience. But it's basically, what we do is we invite you to put some real particular attention into creating a set and setting which is really conducive for you to have an inner experience. And that simply means you just close off all of the things that might distract you, like, so your phones, your computers, schedule in a 3-hour window. We also give a lovely soundtrack that we've put together on Spotify, which really acts as a lovely kind of complement to sort of like deepening the meditative state. I find music really, really helpful for kind of inner work of any kind. And so we have this sort of beautifully composed 3-hour musical journey, which really adds to it. And then essentially you're just invited to decorate the Sri Yantra in whatever way is meaningful for you. So whatever art materials, I love to use sand, but it's very unlikely people are going to have shakburs and sand. So most people will typically use crayons, colors, paints of any kind. If you're artistically oriented, maybe you have your own paint materials, but you could just do it as simply with a pencil and doing some dot work, Okay, now this is quite important. The mandala experience, right, is not an art project. Okay, it's basically an inner journey, is all it is. Okay, and so we even say, one in the guidelines, it's like, don't worry about what it looks like. Most mandalas in their traditional form are brushed away anyway, because they're about honoring impermanence.
Yeah,
so
you might want to do that. You might want to throw away at what you've done as a kind of symbol of the impermanence of all things, or just keep it as a kind of memento of the experience. It's totally up to you, but it's
totally up to you.
It's not about, we're not trying to be crafty here and make an art project, although that's something, if you're that kind of person, you're welcome to do that, but that's not our focus.
And they are imbued with beauty and with goodness and with truth. These are all kind of like qualities of all these archetypes. And so very often what they do is they evoke in you this kind of desire to integrate beauty, and artistry. And that can be very, very, a very beautiful part of your own experience as well. So it's kind of, I suppose I should say as well, the guiding precept or the guiding principle of everything we do, but particularly this kind of going deeper into the mandala process, is essentially this really simple idea about trusting your own inner wisdom. It's this idea that the person that knows what's best for you is you. you know, and this is the sort of the overall theme or the intention, if you like, that we set for this piece of work. And that, you know, genuinely, because we're never really encouraged in our modern world to actually genuinely trust a wisdom within ourselves. You know, we always look for experts outside ourselves, and these shapes, because they're imbued with these qualities, they're something that we can trust to rest our psyches with, you know, as we unfold and awaken to this wisdom that ignites within us, you know. And it's, you know, truthfully, I've been doing this now for 10 years with hundreds of people from all over the world. Since the pandemic, Scott and I have been doing it together with people online, which initially I was a bit hesitant. I didn't know whether it would work. But oh my goodness, I can guarantee you the experiences that people are having are really rich, really profound. And it's actually a gift to be in the presence of people who regroup and get back together and they share their experiences together in this kind of like-hearted group. It's unbelievable, to be honest. It's a very, very rich, rewarding experience. And for me, and I know for you, Scott, too, probably the most important part of what we're doing. We don't want to send off all of our participants like being experts on the Sri Yantra, getting tattoos of and a certification of doing a course. You know, it's more like, I would love that if you come and participate in our course, that it actually touches you in a way where you feel transformed, you feel, you know, awoken to maybe a new insight, maybe a new way of looking at something has birthed it in you, and you're changed for the better because of it. That's my hope, you know.
But it's not, we're not like your gurus or something. It's not like Scott and Jeff are transforming you. It's more like
Definitely not.
Scott and Jeff are your guides to connect you with this geometric archetype, which is then what will transform you or has the potential to do so. If you
Or
allow
even
it.
I'd say a layer deeper, Scott. It's like the yantra connects you with your inner wisdom, you know, that wisdom within yourself. And the yantra is kind of the canoe that activates that innate inner healing wisdom within you. Would that be fair?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's all within you in the first place, and it's not like we're not trying to give you a belief system that's coming from our minds at all.
Yeah.
It's more like this is something that we've experienced, and we're inviting you to share, to have a similar experience if possible, because we know how powerful it is, you know.
It's so powerful and it's so beautiful. And actually, the way I look at it is, you're absolutely right, Scott. We're guides, like, our sort of hosts, you know. We kind of set up the Zooms, set up the website, gather the tribe, if you like, you know. But in a way, like, each participant is a teacher as well, you know, because each participant brings wisdom, you know, from themselves. And it's so cool when you share in a group. And sometimes you get insights from somebody else and you go, wow, I never thought about that. That's totally fresh and totally new for me. And it adds to your perspective. And then other times it's really cool that everybody taps into a really similar thing. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? Like, it's like everyone taps into, and there's very often a common theme emerges. I love those things, you
But
know, like
those
both are
sharing
cool.
sessions are very special in that it's not really a therapy session. It's not like that. And we're not kind of butting in on other people. What we're allowing
Yeah,
people to do is express themselves and be heard.
you got
And
it.
so we have some simple kind of guidelines for that process. But it's mostly about kind of a one-way share. Each person just shares what's in their heart. And we're not recording that. You know, that's
Mhm,
private,
mhm.
that portion of it. Now we will be recording the instructional part of it so that if you miss something, you can always go back and watch that again. But we
Mhm.
feel that the sharing sessions are more private, and so that kind of encourages you to share some real gold from within if you feel inspired to do that, because you can be heard by other people, you know, and that's a very powerful experience, I think,
You're
to be
right.
witnessed, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is, Scott. And what happens is we gift each other our presence, is what happens, you know, and we kind of say there's something very, very powerful to being in a group that's really receptive, but receptive from a deep place. You know, I sometimes like it. It's a bit of probably a silly analogy, but I like to sort of almost imagine an ear on our heart, you know, so you're kind of listening like from a deeper place. And you're right, Scott, we do have those simple guidelines. So it's not a cross-talking type of sharing group as well. We sort of, when somebody chooses to share, we just allow them flow outward. And then we encourage then the receivers, the rest of the group essentially, to become almost like a collective listening vessel almost, you know, where the person is received. And something happens in this, it's kind of magic, where I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have something that you'd like to share, but you're not really sure, and you don't want to kind of like say the wrong thing, or you're a little bit self-conscious maybe. But sometimes if it's really, really something that's truly who you are, to actually get that out and for it to be received in a warm-hearted group, it's radical. It's really life-changing, because I don't really understand it fully, to tell you the truth, but it's something like, when you do this, it's like a part of you that was under the surface has now come into the light of your awareness or something. And you just feel like expanded or something. You're like, oh, yeah, this is me, you know?
It can be a little challenging for others to sometimes to not comment on it.
Yeah.
Say, oh yeah, I've had a similar thing, because that's not what we're doing here. We don't have time, for one thing, but also it would kind of take the focus away from each person being able to have that kind of catharsis of expression, you know, of getting it out. If everyone is going to comment on it, that maybe they won't say anything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it sort of self-perpetuates as well, you know, as each person goes and then each person connects with that, you know, the truthful place of inside themselves. You can feel it, like, you know, when somebody's connected there. And it's somehow when one person connects there, it's like the tuning forks thing. It helps you connect there, you know, and it reverberates around a group, and it's just amazing, to be honest, you know.
It's somewhat mysterious also in how that resonance does really work. You know, we kind of build this kind of field, I guess, or just a resonance among all the participants that we have. We're creating something that seems to be, would you think it's fair to say that it's more than the sum of the people there? It's somehow creating kind of a group mind, in a sense.
Absolutely, it's definitely the case, Scott, in my opinion. And I'm in awe of it, actually. I mean, every time I'm just like, wow, like, this is amazing, you know. So, like, yeah, quite genuinely, this is the apex point. I mean, I suppose, if I'm being honest, this is really the charge in me, that I'm drawn to do these workshops, to put the energy into bringing people together, because this is one of the richest experiences we can have. You know, you come together with a shared intention in a like-minded group, and we do this in this way. I just love it, you know. So
another thing I want to point out, Jeff, and before I forget, is to point out the community feature that we have on our site, that people are still using, you know, a couple months after our last live
workshop. I saw that. Yeah.
Still very active on that. And I think what happens is, if you have this kind of profound experience with others who witnessed you, it brings you closer to them, and you feel like you want to keep that relationship going in a way. And so students are messaging each other, and they're forming friendships, and they're kind of, some people are really just still activated with geometry, and they're posting things about it. And so we encourage that, you know, that's for you to use as a way to connect with others who, you know, have been through this academy, have had these profound experiences, and want to keep it going, you know. So
it's so true, Scott. It's so true. And I saw a number of really cool things from the previous participants, where there's even, like, I think one of our participants is going through an apprenticeship with one of the other kind of like sacred geometry fans, you know, and I don't know if it's apprenticeship, but they're kind of like partnering together, you know, and it's going really well. And I saw some posts just today, you know, on the 9-pointed star from one of our participants as well, you know. And so I'm kind of like, here's the deal, actually, you know. I feel really pleased about this, that as best we can, and it's kind of tricky doing this whole web thing with cameras and everything, you know, but as best we can, we're trying to be just who we are, aren't we, Scott? We're trying to genuinely say, you know, the truth is, we've got a serious passion for this. It's our life's passion and our calling, quite simply. And we're calling out to you to say, if you're feeling this vibe, and this sounds like something you're digging, and to be honest, if you're at this stage of the video series and you're watching it and you're going, yeah, maybe I'm into this, you know, I would be hopeful that the people you'll meet on the course will be very much lined up with the sort of person you are as well, you know, and it's a very cool part about it. And so, you know, and by the same token, we're not trying to do a heavy sell or anything. It's kind of like, if this probably not going to suit many people. And like, we're not trying to persuade people that may not be suited to it. You know, we're trying to be as full disclosure as we can to say, we've got a really good vibe at sacred geometry. We've kind of a unique way of working with it that we've road tested and it's gone brilliant. And if that sounds like something that you'd like to join us for, we'd love to have you aboard. Isn't that really it, Scott?
Exactly. So we're not really trying to sell you here. The idea is, if you feel at the end of watching these videos that you don't really like it, no harm, no foul, you know. Thank you for watching. But if you have come to this point and you're like, you know, this sounds great, then we encourage you to take the next step and sign up for the live workshop, whether it's the 1 day or the 8 module one. And I think that you'll be very happy with it. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
I think, yeah, you're going to love it, you know. So look, that basically brings us to I think we've captured the essence there, because we're trying to bring you into, you know, how we go deeper into the Sri Yantra. So that really explains exactly what you're in for if you come to join us, you know. I hope that was helpful, and I hope it's enticing and alluring, because we'd really love to see you on our next course. We're really excited about it. So if it feels good and it sounds good, then come on, join us. It's going to be great. Thank you very much.